Today, we're going to break down what is, without a doubt, the single biggest shakeup in cloud computing since the whole thing started. And guess what? It's all being driven by AI. Okay, so let's set the scene. It all started with this absolute explosion when ChatGPT launched in late 2022. I mean, look at those numbers. It became the fastest growing app in history. But while everybody was busy playing with the cool new toy on the front end, the real story, the one that's literally rewriting the internet's foundation, was kicking off behind the scenes. So what was that story? Well, that crazy growth set off this massive, kind of hidden, reinvention of cloud computing. The very bones of our digital world were being re-architected in real time. It's wild. All right, so let's get into the first piece of this puzzle, and this is a big one. The actual physical hardware that powers the cloud. It's being completely torn down and rebuilt from the ground up. So for like 15 years, the cloud ran on CPUs. Think of them as the workhorses. You know, the processor in your laptop, but on steroids. Great for all sorts of general tasks. But generative AI, it's a completely different beast. It needs to do thousands of calculations all at the same time, in parallel. And for that, you need GPUs. This forced a gigantic pivot in the industry. And just to give you a sense of scale here, we're not talking about a little 10% improvement. Nope. A single GPU can be 100 times faster for these AI jobs. That's not an upgrade, folks. That's a whole new ballgame. It's a total paradigm shift. This insane demand for GPUs is what led NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang to say something really profound. He said we're not just building data centers anymore. We're building AI factories, these massive facilities designed for one thing and one thing only, to crank out intelligence on an industrial scale. Okay, so you've got this massive hardware revolution, right? Well, that kicked off a second shockwave, this time an economic one. It completely changed how much cloud computing costs and, maybe more importantly, who can even afford to play. So here's the bottom line. Running AI is just crazy expensive. You can see it right here. We're talking anywhere from 20 to 100 times more expensive than your classic cloud workload. This turns the whole economic model of the cloud completely upside down. So you're probably asking, why? Why is it so expensive? Well, it's a perfect storm. First, the specialized hardware, these GPUs, cost a fortune. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars a pop. Then there's the energy bill. Training these models can suck up as much electricity as a small city. They have to run 24/7 at full tilt. And on top of all that, you have to store and move these gigantic data sets, which is its own massive expense. And this all leads to a really tough question for every single business out there. It creates this new kind of digital divide. You have to weigh the super high cost of jumping into AI against, well, the even higher cost of being left in the dust by your competitors. It's a classic rock-in-a-hard-place situation. All right, let's move on to the third shift, and honestly, this might be the most mind-bending one of all. The cloud is no longer just about renting servers and storage. It's evolving. It's starting to sell intelligence itself as a utility. This has created a whole new category, AI as a service. Think about it. The cloud providers aren't just giving you the building blocks anymore. Now, they're offering these powerful, pre-trained AI models that anyone can tap into, just like you'd turn on a light switch. Intelligence on demand. And the crazy part is how easy they're making it. Now, any developer, you don't even need to be an AI genius, can plug incredible features like chatbots or image recognition straight into their apps. It just takes a few lines of code. What we're seeing is the democratization of powerful AI, just like the cloud originally democratized access to raw computing power. So all these changes, they're really just the beginning, and it all leads to a pretty radical question. Are the tools we've all come to rely on to manage the cloud, are they heading for an extinction event? You know, if you look back, our tools have always evolved to help us humans manage complexity. We started with raw API calls, just typing commands directly. Then we got smarter with things like Terraform, infrastructure as code. And more recently, we've moved to cloud-native stuff like Kubernetes. Every single step was about creating a new layer of abstraction to make our lives easier. But here's the absolute kicker, the thing nobody really talks about. All of those tools, they exist for one reason and one reason only. Us, humans. They're designed for our limitations. We can't handle raw complexity. Our brains just aren't built for it. So we build these abstractions to reduce that mental load. Okay, but think about AI agents. They don't have our squishy human limitations. They don't get overwhelmed by a massive complex JSON file. They don't need pretty YAML files or user-friendly abstractions. They can just talk directly to the APIs. So why wouldn't AI ever need the tools we built for ourselves? The short answer is, it wouldn't. And you know what? We've seen this movie before. The tools that are king in one era often become dinosaurs in the next. Remember Chef and Puppet? They were the rulers of on-premise servers, but they really struggled to adapt to the cloud. You could even argue that tools like Terraform are now struggling to fit into this new AI-native world. History kind of suggests that today's hot new tools might not make it through this transition.
So, okay, the hardware is changing, the economics are changing, and even the tools we use are on the chopping block. With all this reinvention happening, how do you make sure you end up on the right side of this massive transformation?
All right, so here's your game plan. Number 1, focus on integration, not creation. Don't try to build the next giant foundational model from scratch. The real value is in stitching together these existing, powerful models to solve actual business problems. Number 2, become obsessed with the user experience. AI is just a means to an end, and that end is creating dramatically better, more personalized experiences for people. And finally, number 3, really understand the new architecture. The choices you make, from the chips all the way up to the models, are now absolutely critical for building AI solutions that are cheap, sustainable, and easy to deploy.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought to chew on. As these autonomous AI agents start taking over the really complex jobs of managing our cloud infrastructure, jobs that, let's be honest, we created entire careers around, are we just building better assistants? Or are we actually building our own replacements? The great cloud rewrite is happening right now, and it's changing a lot more than just the technology.